Beauty has a price. But what if that price isn't measured in dollars? What if it's measured in something far more disturbing? A personal assistant to one of the world's most famous families discovered the truth behind their ageless appearance. And what she found in that midnight delivery wasn't a cream, wasn't a vitamin. It was alive, moving, breathing. This is the story of what the Kardashians really used to stay young. Her name was Sarah Mitchell, 28 years old, and landing the job as Kim Kardashian's personal assistant felt like winning the lottery. After years of working her way up through smaller celebrity management firms, dealing with C-list influencers and reality TV personalities nobody remembered after their 15 minutes expired, this was it. The big leagues. The kind of position that could define a career. The interview process had been intense. 3 rounds, background checks that went back to elementary school, NDAs so thick they required their own binder. But Sarah had made it through. She was smart, organized, discreet, and most importantly, she knew how to keep her mouth shut. In the world of celebrity assistants, silence was more valuable than gold. Her first day started at the Hidden Hills compound, a sprawling estate that looked more like a modern art museum than a home. Minimalist architecture, floor-to-ceiling windows, and security that would make a military installation jealous. Sarah arrived at 7 a.m. sharp, dressed professionally but not ostentatiously, ready to absorb everything she could about her new role. The head of household staff, a woman named Margaret who'd been with the family for over a decade, gave her the tour. The kitchen with its restaurant-grade appliances that rarely got used. The home gym that looked like an Instagram set. The closets, multiple closets, each one larger than Sarah's entire apartment. The office where she'd be working, equipped with 3 monitors, 2 phones, and a scheduling system that required a manual to understand. You'll coordinate Kim's daily routine, Margaret explained, her voice crisp and professional. Meetings, appearances, photo shoots, family obligations. Everything goes through you first. You'll manage her personal calendar, screen her calls, and handle any special requests. The way Margaret said special requests made Sarah's antenna go up slightly, but she nodded along. Every celebrity had their quirks, their specific demands. She was prepared for anything. Also, she thought the first 2 weeks were exactly what Sarah expected. Long hours, constant communication, an endless stream of coordination between Kim's business team, her family, her publicist, her glam squad, and approximately 24 other people who all needed her time and attention. Sarah learned quickly that Kim's public persona, the Instagram posts, the paparazzi shots, the carefully curated image, required an enormous infrastructure to maintain. She also learned that Kim was, in person, surprisingly normal. Professional, yes. Demanding, absolutely. But not cruel or unreasonable. She treated Sarah with respect, remembered her coffee order, and even asked about her life outside of work occasionally. It was almost disappointing how normal it was until the 3rd week. Until the night delivery started. The IT was a Tuesday night, nearly 11 p.m. Sarah was still at the compound, organizing Kim's schedule for an upcoming trip to New York Fashion Week. She'd learned early on that the job didn't really have boundaries. When Kim needed something, day or night, you made it happen. She was in the office when she heard the gate alert chime. Security cameras showed a white van pulling up to the service entrance. Unmarked, no company logo, just plain white. 2 people in medical scrubs and surgical masks got out. Moving with practiced efficiency, Sarah walked to the window, watching. The delivery was expected. It was on the calendar, marked simply as midnight wellness delivery with no other details. Margaret had briefed her. When these deliveries arrived, Sarah was to escort them to the private spa room in the East Wing, ensure they had everything they needed, and then make herself scarce. No questions, No lingering, she met them at the entrance. Neither of the delivery people made eye contact. They wheeled in a medical-grade cooler on a cart, the kind you'd see in hospitals for transporting organs or blood. The cooler was sealed with biometric locks, condensation beading on its stainless steel surface. "Way," one of them asked, voice muffled by the mask. "This way," Sarah said, leading them through the house. The spa room was unlike anything Sarah had seen before. It wasn't a typical home spa with a massage table and some candles. This looked like a private medical facility. Examination chair, medical lighting, cabinets full of supplies that ranged from standard first aid to things Sarah couldn't identify. The walls were lined with small refrigerators, each one locked, each one humming with power. The delivery people unlocked one of the refrigerators, carefully transferring sealed packages from the cooler. Sarah caught a glimpse of the labels, barcodes, dates, codes she didn't understand. But no brand names, no product descriptions, just clinical data. "Sign here," one of them said, holding out a tablet. Sarah signed without reading it thoroughly, which she'd later regret. The delivery people left as quickly as they'd arrived, and Sarah locked up the spa room as instructed. She tried to push down her curiosity, tried to remind herself that celebrities had access to all kinds of experimental treatments, cutting-edge wellness protocols that weren't available to regular people, but something about it felt wrong. The secrecy, the late-night timing, the medical-grade security. She went back to work, trying to focus. Around 2 a.m., she decided to call it a night. As she walked toward the exit, she passed the spa room again. The door was slightly ajar, which was odd because she definitely locked it. Sarah hesitated. Every instinct told her to keep walking, to mind her business, to remember the NDAs she'd signed. But curiosity is a powerful thing, especially when you're tired and your defenses are down. She pushed the door open quietly. The room was dimly lit, just the ambient glow from the refrigerators. Kim was there, sitting in the examination chair, wearing a silk robe. She wasn't alone. A woman in a white coat stood beside her, preparing something. The woman's back was to Sarah, but she could see her hands moving with surgical precision, drawing something into a syringe from one of the sealed packages. Sarah started to back away, but the floor creaked. Both Kim and the woman turned. "Sarah." Kim's voice was calm, not angry or surprised, just acknowledging. "I'm sorry. I was just..." The door was open and I wanted to make sure everything was secure before I left. Kim exchanged a glance with the woman in the white coat, some unspoken communication passing between them. Then Kim smiled, that famous smile, the one that had sold $1 billion worth of products. "It's fine. Actually, come in." Close the door. Sarah's heart was pounding, but she obeyed. The woman in the white coat turned to face her fully now. She was older, maybe 60, with sharp features and eyes that seemed to catalog every detail of Sarah's appearance in seconds. "This is Dr. Reeves," Kim said. "She handles my wellness protocols." Dr. Reeves nodded once but didn't offer her hand. She turned back to her work, finishing the preparation of the syringe. Sarah watched, unable to look away, as the doctor drew the contents from the sealed package. The liquid inside wasn't liquid. Not exactly. It moved wrong. Too thick, too viscous, and in the dim light, Sarah could swear she saw it pulse, like it had a heartbeat. "What is that?" The words came out before Sarah could stop them. Kim looked at her for a long moment, assessing. "The truth, or the version I tell everyone else?" Sarah's mouth was dry. "The truth." Kim gestured to the examination chair next to hers. "Sit. This is going to take a while." Sarah sat, her mind racing. Dr. Reeves continued working, unbothered by the conversation, preparing multiple syringes with the same disturbing substance. "You've noticed I don't age the way I should," Kim began, her voice casual, like she was discussing her workout routine. "Everyone has. People write articles about it, make videos dissecting my face, accuse me of surgery I've never had. But surgery isn't the answer. Surgery is temporary. Scars, recovery time, imperfection." She paused as Dr. Reeves swabbed her arm with antiseptic. "About 8 years ago, I was introduced to a very exclusive medical program. Private, experimental, not FDA approved, not because it doesn't work, but because the FDA doesn't know it exists. It's reserved for a very specific clientele. People who can afford it, people who can keep secrets, and people who understand that some things require sacrifice." Dr. Reeves inserted the first needle into Kim's arm. Sarah watched the thick, pulsing substance flow from the syringe into her vein. Kim didn't even flinch. "What is it?" Sarah asked again, unable to take her eyes off the syringe. "Stem cells," Kim said, "but not the kind you're thinking of. Not the legal kind from umbilical cords or bone marrow. These are different, more potent, more pure." The way she said pure made Sarah's skin crawl. Reeves finished the first injection and moved to prepare the second. Sarah noticed that the sealed package the substance came from was labeled with more than just codes. There were measurements, dates, and something else, a donor number. Where do they come from? Sarah heard herself ask that. Kim's expression didn't change. That's the part where you have to decide how much you really want to know. Because once you know, you can't unknow. You can't unsee it. And you'll have to make a choice about whether you're willing to stay. Sarah should have left. Should have stood up, walked out, driven home, and never come back. But she didn't. Because part of her, the part that had fought so hard to get here, that had sacrificed so much for this opportunity, needed to understand. "Tell me." Dr. Reeves and Kim exchanged another glance. Then Kim nodded, and the doctor continued her work while Kim spoke. "They are labs, private facilities, offshore mostly, but some domestic in states with flexible regulations. They specialize in regenerative medicine. The science is actually fascinating. Stem cells have the ability to repair, regenerate, reverse aging at a cellular level. But the most effective stem cells come from very specific sources." She paused as Dr. Reeves administered the second injection. "Fetal tissue, very young fetal tissue. The younger, the more potent. These cells haven't specialized yet, haven't committed to being skin or bone or muscle. They are pure potential. And when you introduce them into an adult body, they seek out damage, aging, cellular degradation, and they fix it." Sarah felt bile rising in her throat. "You're using aborted fetuses." "That makes it sound crude," Kim said, her voice still calm, still measured. "These aren't random medical procedures. These are carefully coordinated harvests from very specific donors who are compensated generously for their contribution. Women who were planning to terminate anyway. We are simply ensuring the tissue doesn't go to waste. That's illegal. Only if you get caught. And the people who run these programs are very good at not getting caught. The tissue is processed, refined, turned into these injections. No different than any other medical treatment, really. Just more effective." Dr. Reeves finished with Kim and began packing up her supplies. The whole process had taken maybe 10 minutes. Kim stood, stretching, looking in the mirror on the wall. Even in the dim light, Sarah could see it. Her skin looked different. Tighter, more radiant, like she just had the best sleep of her life. "How often?" Sarah asked quietly. "Monthly," sometimes more frequently if I have a big appearance coming up. Fashion week, award shows, major photo shoots. The effects are cumulative. The more you use, the better it works. My mother started me on it. She's been using it for over a decade. Chloe, Courtney, Kylie, we all use it. It's how we maintain the brand. Sarah's mind was reeling. The entire empire, the beauty empire worth billions, was built on this. On harvested fetal tissue from illegal labs. What about Kendall? The question came out automatically. Kim's expression flickered for the first time, something like annoyance, or maybe envy. Kendall doesn't need it. Some people just have better genetics. Lucky bitch. Dr. Reeves closed up her medical case and looked at Sarah for the first time with any real focus. You understand the discretion required here. It wasn't a question. It was a statement. A warning. Sarah nodded slowly. Good, Kim said, moving toward the door. Because what you've seen tonight, it stays here. You signed the NDAs. They are very comprehensive. If you breathe a word of this to anyone, you'll lose everything. Your career, your reputation, possibly your freedom. The people who run these programs have resources you can't imagine. Lawyers, fixers, people who make problems disappear. She paused at the door, looking back at Sarah. But if you can keep this secret, if you can be part of this, there are benefits, access, opportunity, and when you're ready, when you've earned it, maybe even the treatment yourself. With that, she left. Dr. Reeves followed, leaving Sarah alone in the spa room. Sarah sat there for a long time, staring at the refrigerators lining the walls, each one containing sealed packages of stolen youth. She thought about walking away, about resigning in the morning, about trying to forget what she'd learned, but she didn't. Because the truth was, she was already calculating, already thinking about what staying meant, about the access, the money, the potential, about what it would be like to never age, to look 30 forever, to have that kind of power over time itself. That's how they got you. Not with force, but with temptation. With the promise that you could be special too. If you just kept quiet, Sarah stayed for 3 more months. Long enough to understand the full scope of it. The treatments weren't just for the family. They were for their inner circle. Close friends, trusted employees, people who'd proven their loyalty and their discretion. She learned about the network of labs spanning from Mexico to Eastern Europe to Southeast Asia, all operating in legal gray zones where money could buy silence and cooperation. She learned that the donors weren't always willing, that some of the tissue came from countries where women had few rights and fewer choices, that the compensation Kim had mentioned was sometimes just survival money for people with no other options. She learned that the medical establishment knew about it but looked the other way, because the same people who funded these programs also funded hospitals, research facilities, medical schools. Money flowed in circles, and everyone who needed to be bought had already been purchased, and she learned that the effects were real. She'd watched Kim go from looking 38 to looking 28 over the course of a few months. Watched the skin around her eyes tighten, the fine lines disappear, the overall radiance increase. It wasn't surgery. It wasn't makeup. It was actual cellular regeneration, which made it so much worse. Because it worked. One night in her 4th month, Sarah was again working late when another delivery arrived. Same white van, same masked technicians. But this time, something was different. As they unloaded the cooler, one of the packages slipped, hitting the ground. The seal broke. And what came out wasn't just liquid. It was tissue. Recognizable tissue. Small, perfectly formed. A tiny hand, no bigger than Sarah's thumb. The technicians scrambled to clean it up. Their movements panicked. But Sarah had seen it. Had seen what was really inside those sterile packages. Not just cells, not just abstract medical material. Actual remains she threw up in the bathroom, violently, repeatedly, until there was nothing left but dry heaves and the taste of bile. When she came out, Margaret was waiting. "You saw?" Sarah nodded, unable to speak. Margaret's expression was sympathetic but firm. "It gets easier. The first time is always hard, but you get used to it. You have to, if you want to stay. How can any of you? Because the alternative is worse," Margaret said quietly. "The alternative is aging, becoming invisible, losing relevance. In this world, at this level, youth isn't just beauty, it's currency, it's power. Would you rather grow old gracefully and disappear, or stay young and matter? That's not a real choice, isn't it? Every woman makes this choice every day. We just have access to a better solution." Sarah quit the next morning, sent an email at 6 a.m., packed her things, and walked out before anyone could try to convince her to stay. She half expected lawyers to show up at her door, threatening her into silence. But they didn't come. Because Kim had been right about one thing, who would believe her? The story was too insane, too impossible. And without proof, it was just the ravings of a disgruntled former employee. But Sarah knows what she saw. She knows what's in those packages, in those refrigerators, in those injections. She knows what the price of eternal youth really is, and sometimes, late at night, she looks in the mirror at the fine lines starting to form around her eyes, at the first hints of aging creeping across her face. And she wonders, not if she made the right choice, she knows she did, but she wonders what it would have been like to never age, to stay perfect, to have that kind of power. And that's the most disturbing part of all. Because even knowing the truth, even having seen the horror with her own eyes, part of her still wants it. That's how deep the vanity goes. That's how powerful the fear of aging really is. And that's why they'll never run out of customers, never run out of people willing to look the other way, never run out of donors desperate enough to sell what shouldn't be for sale, because beauty has a price. And some people will pay anything. A few weeks after she quit, Sarah received a package at her apartment. No return address, just her name on the label. Inside was a small, medical-grade container, the kind that requires refrigeration, and a note in elegant handwriting: "When you're ready to stop pretending you're better than us, this is yours. One treatment, free. Consider it a gift." Or a reminder, you can't unsee what you've seen, and you can't unfeel what you feel when you look in the mirror. The offer stands. Always. Sarah threw the container away without opening it, took it straight to the dumpster outside her building, and watched the garbage truck take it away the next morning. But the note, she kept the note, hidden in a drawer, underneath old tax documents and forgotten birthday cards. She tells herself she kept it as evidence, as insurance, as proof that she wasn't crazy, but deep down, she knows the truth. She kept it because part of her, however small, however buried, hasn't completely decided yet. And that's the real horror. Not the labs, not the harvesting, not even the injections. The real horror is how easy it would be to say yes, how logical it would be to rationalize it, how simple it would be to become one of them, because everyone thinks they'd be different. Everyone thinks they'd walk away, report it, expose it. But when you're actually there, when the offer is real, when you can see the results with your own eyes, that's when you learn who you really are. Sarah learned. And she spent every day since trying to forget the lesson, but the mirror doesn't let her forget. Every time she sees a new wrinkle, every time she notices her skin isn't quite as tight as it used to be, every time she compares herself to the ageless faces she sees online, she remembers the package, the note, the offer, and she wonders how much longer she can keep saying no.